year 2277, deep beneath the irradiated ruins of Washington, D.C., you take your first breath inside Vault 101, a massive underground shelter built to protect its inhabitants from nuclear holocaust. This vault, unlike the others scattered across the wasteland, was designed never to open. Its overseer and the vault's inhabitants believed in a simple motto: nobody ever enters and nobody ever leaves. Your father, James, is the vault's physician, a brilliant and caring man who has dedicated his life to the well-being of vault residents. Your mother, Catherine, died during childbirth, leaving James to raise you alone in the sterile metal corridors of this underground prison. Your earliest memories are fragments of life in the vault, celebrating your first birthday, receiving your Pip-Boy 3000 wrist-mounted computer on your 10th birthday, and taking the GO8 exam that would determine your future role in vault society. Life in Vault 101 follows a rigid structure. Every person has their place, their job, their predetermined path. The overseer maintains order with an iron fist, and his daughter Amada becomes one of your closest friends growing up. You also know Butch Deloria, the resident bully whose gang of tunnel snakes makes life difficult for anyone they consider weak. There's also your childhood friend, who shares lessons with you under the watchful eye of Mr. Broch, and later goes through the vault's coming-of-age ceremonies alongside you. Your 16th birthday marks a turning point. You receive your own Pip-Boy 3000, a sophisticated device that monitors your health, manages your inventory, and provides access to the vault's computer systems. During the birthday party thrown in your honor, you begin to sense tensions in the vault. Whispers of discontent, mentions of the outside world, and the overseer's increasingly paranoid behavior all hint at something lurking beneath the surface of vault life. Years pass in the monotonous routine of vault living. You take your GO8 exam, which purports to determine your ideal career based on a series of bizarre hypothetical questions. Whether you follow its recommendation or chart your own course, you settle into what seems like your permanent role in the vault's society. Then, on an ordinary morning that begins like any other, everything changes. You wake to chaos. Alarms blare through the vault's corridors. Security officers rush past your quarters, and Amada bursts into your room with terrifying news. Your father has left the vault. James, the man who dedicated his life to healing vault dwellers, who never spoke of the outside world, who seemed content to live and die within these metal walls, has somehow escaped into the wasteland. More troubling still, the overseer has gone mad with rage, and he's ordered security to find and kill you, believing you know something about your father's escape. Amada presses your father's 10mm pistol into your hands, her eyes wide with fear and determination. She tells you that you have to leave, that there's no other choice. The overseer, her own father, has become a tyrant willing to murder anyone connected to James's betrayal of vault protocols. As security officers search the vault for you, Amada helps you evade them, providing you with access codes and guidance through maintenance tunnels. Your escape takes you through the deepest parts of Vault 101, areas you've never seen before. You encounter rad roaches, mutated cockroaches the size of dogs, a reminder that even sealed within the vault, radiation's effects seep through. You may encounter Butch, who despite years of antagonism, begs for your help when his mother is trapped by rad roaches. The choice to help him or leave him to his fate is yours alone. The path to the vault exit leads through the overseer's office, where a confrontation becomes inevitable. You might face the overseer himself, a broken man consumed by his need to maintain control, or you might slip past, finding the secret passage that leads to the vault door. Amada makes one final plea. She'll stay behind to try to maintain order, but you must leave and never return. With a heavy heart, you activate the vault door mechanism for the first time in your life. The massive gear-shaped door rolls open with a grinding of ancient machinery. Blinding light streams through the widening gap, and you shield your eyes, having never seen true sunlight before. You step forward through the darkness of the vault entrance tunnel, each footstep taking you further from the only home you've ever known. Finally, you emerge from a rocky cave entrance and witness the capital Wasteland for the first time. The world is not what you imagined. The sky is a sickly gray-brown, choked with radiation and dust. Before you stretches Springvale, a small, ruined town, its buildings collapsed and weathered by 2 centuries of neglect. In the distance, you can see the skeletal remains of larger structures, the ruins of what was once Washington, D.C., now known simply as the D.C. ruins. This is your father's world, the place he chose over life in the vault. And now, it's yours too. The search for James. Your journey into the Wasteland begins in Springvale, where a few scattered shacks have been built from the remains of pre-war homes. The town is eerily quiet, populated only by a handful of desperate survivors, and you quickly discover raiders who prey on anyone weak enough to become their victim. Your first encounters with Wasteland life are harsh lessons. Trust no one. Ammunition is precious, and death lurks around every corner. Following the only lead you have, you make your way to Megaton, a town built around an undetonated atomic bomb in the center of a massive crater. The town's walls are constructed from airplane fuselage and scrap metal, a testament to the ingenuity and desperation of Wasteland survivors. At the gate, you're greeted by Stockholm, a security guard who questions your intentions before allowing you entry. Inside Megaton, you discover a thriving community despite the harsh conditions. Lucas Sims, the town's sheriff and de facto leader, maintains order with a steady hand and a faster gun. He wears a pre-war sheriff's duster and hat, playing the role of lawman in a lawless world. You learn that your father passed through Megaton, staying at Moriarty's saloon and asking questions before moving on. Colin Moriarty, the saloon owner, is an opportunistic Irishman who trades in information as readily as he trades in alcohol and companionship. He knows where your father went, but information isn't free in the Wasteland. He demands payment, either in caps, the bottle caps that serve as currency in this post-apocalyptic world, or through a favor. He wants you to recover a debt from a young woman named Silver in Springvale, or to discover the secret of another resident, the mysterious Mr. Burke. Your investigations in Megaton reveal a diverse cast of characters, each with their own struggles and stories. There's Moira Brown, an impossibly cheerful woman who runs Craterside Supply and dreams of writing a Wasteland survival guide. She's looking for someone brave or foolish enough to help her with dangerous research. There's Leo Stahl, a cranky shopkeeper at the water processing plant. There's Jericho, a retired raider who spends his days drinking at Moriarty's. And there's Lucy West, who asks you to deliver a letter to her family in Arafu, a settlement to the north. You also encounter Mr. Burke, a mysterious figure in a clean pre-war suit, who presents you with a disturbing proposal. Detonate Megaton's atomic bomb and wipe the town from existence. His employer, a man named Alistair Tenpenny who lives in Tenpenny Tower to the southwest, finds the site of Megaton from his penthouse window distasteful. Burke offers substantial payment for this act of mass murder. The choice is yours. Defend Megaton and its inhabitants, or destroy it for profit. Whether you save or destroy Megaton, Moriarty eventually reveals that your father went to Galaxy News Radio in downtown D.C., seeking someone named 3 Dog. This information sends you toward the heart of the capital Wasteland, into the ruins of Washington, D.C. itself, a labyrinth of collapsed buildings, rubble-choked streets, and danger at every turn. The journey to Galaxy News Radio takes you through some of the most dangerous territory in the Wasteland. The ruins are infested with super mutants, massive green-skinned creatures that were once human before being transformed by the forced evolutionary virus. These mutants are incredibly strong, resilient, and armed with heavy weapons. They've established strongholds throughout the DC ruins, capturing humans for purposes you don't yet understand. You also encounter feral ghouls, humans who were so heavily irradiated that their bodies survived while their minds deteriorated into mindless, aggressive creatures. They shamble through the metro, tunnels, and ruined buildings, attacking anything that moves. Not all ghouls are feral, however. You'll meet some who retain their intelligence and humanity despite their horrifying appearance, their skin rotted and peeling, their bodies held together by radiation alone. The DC ruins force you to adapt to a new kind of combat and exploration. The streets are often impassable, forcing you underground into the metro system. These dark tunnels are claustrophobic nightmares filled with feral ghouls and raiders. Your Pip-Boy's light becomes your lifeline as you navigate collapsed passages, broken trains, and improvised raider camps in the darkness. When you finally reach the Galaxy News Radio building, you find it under siege by super mutants. On the plaza, a Brotherhood of Steel paladin named Sentinel Sarah Lyons and her squad are pinned down by mutant fire. The Brotherhood of Steel, an organization dedicated to recovering and preserving pre-war technology, has established a presence in the capital Wasteland. Their power armor makes them formidable warriors, but even they struggle against the mutant hordes. You can aid the Brotherhood in fighting off the super mutants, and Sarah Lyons acknowledges your help before continuing her patrol. Inside the Galaxy News Radio building, you climb several floors filled with more super mutants before finally reaching Three Dog's fortified studio at the top. Three Dog is the voice of the capital Wasteland, broadcasting news, music, and his own commentary across the airwaves. He's charismatic, rebellious, and committed to fighting the good fight, whatever that means in the Wasteland. He knows your father well. James asked him to spread word about something called Project Purity, a pre-war initiative to purify the tidal basin and provide clean water to the entire Wasteland. But Three Dog won't tell you where your father is unless you help him first. The Galaxy News Radio signal isn't reaching the entire Wasteland because the Washington Monument, which serves as the radio antenna, has been damaged. He needs you to venture into the monument and replace a relay dish. It's dangerous work as the monument is filled with super mutants, but it's the only way to get the information you need. The Washington Monument stands as a damaged but recognizable landmark in the center of the mall. Super mutants have turned it into a stronghold, and ascending to its top requires fighting through multiple levels of these massive creatures. The monument's elevator doesn't work, forcing you to climb through maintenance areas and damaged sections where the structure itself has partially collapsed. When you finally reach the top, replacing the relay dish gives you a spectacular view of the capital Wasteland. The ruins stretching in every direction, the radioactive green hue of the Potomac River, and in the distance, the strange sight of Rivet City, a settlement built on an aircraft carrier. With the dish replaced, you return to Three Dog, who finally reveals your father's location. Rivet City, a fortified settlement on the remains of a pre-war aircraft carrier anchored in the Potomac River. Three Dog also begins broadcasting news of your good deeds across the Wasteland, making you a known entity to anyone with a radio. This fame is a double-edged sword, bringing opportunities, but also unwanted attention. The journey to Rivet City takes you south through more ruins and Wasteland. Along the way, you might encounter various settlements and locations. The Super Duper Mart, a ruined grocery store filled with raiders. The Farragut West Metro Station, with its own dangers, and various other remnants of the old world. Each location tells a story of what was lost when the bombs fell. Rivet City itself is an impressive sight. The massive aircraft carrier has been converted into a functioning town, with the flight deck serving as a marketplace and the interior carved into living quarters, shops, and common areas. Access to the ship is controlled by a bridge that extends from the shore, which the residents can retract to protect themselves from threats. The settlement has managed to establish some semblance of pre-war civilization, with a functioning hydroponic farm, a science lab, and even a bar called the Muddy Rudder. You learn that your father was here, working in the science lab with a woman named Dr. Madison Lee. When you find her, she's cold and dismissive at first, clearly upset about something. Eventually, she explains that she and your father worked together before the war at a facility called Project Purity, located in the Jefferson Memorial. The project aimed to purify the entire tidal basin, providing clean water for the region. But something went wrong, and the project was abandoned years ago. Dr. Lee reveals that your father recently returned to the Jefferson Memorial to restart Project Purity. She's frustrated that he didn't consult with her, that he went alone, and that he seems to be chasing an impossible dream. But she provides you with the location and warns you that the memorial is now infested with super mutants. The Jefferson Memorial sits on the Potomac River, its distinctive dome visible from a distance. The building is indeed occupied by super mutants, and infiltrating it requires careful planning or overwhelming firepower. Inside, you navigate through flooded rooms and damaged laboratories until you find evidence of your father's presence, notes, equipment, and signs that he was here recently. But your father is gone again. Following the trail of clues, you discover that he went to Vault 112, a vault you've never heard of before. The vault's location is in an isolated area to the west, buried beneath a place called Smith Casey's Garage in a settlement known as Evergreen Mills, though you'll actually find it northwest of there. The journey takes you through new territories, encountering more of the Wasteland's dangers and wonders. When you finally locate Vault 112's entrance beneath the unassuming garage, you discover that this vault is unlike Vault 101. Inside, you find rows of stasis pods, each containing a living human being suspended in simulation. A computer interface allows you to enter the simulation yourself, and when you do, you find yourself in a bizarre recreation of pre-war American suburbia called Tranquility Lane. In this simulation, everything appears perfect. White picket fences, green lawns, and cheerful neighbors. But something is deeply wrong. The residents are trapped here, aware that they're in a simulation, but unable to leave. They're controlled by an omnipotent child avatar named Betty, who is actually the vault's overseer, a man named Braun, who has kept these people imprisoned for over 200 years for his own amusement. You find your father's avatar in one of the houses, but he's been mind-wiped, reduced to a simple, vacant personality with no memory of who he is or why he came here. To free him and the others, you must deal with Betty. She forces you to participate in cruel pranks on the other residents, testing your willingness to hurt innocents for your goals. However, you can discover a secret, the fail-safe terminal hidden in an abandoned house. Activating it provides a way to shut down the simulation permanently, killing Braun's avatar and freeing all the trapped residents. The moral weight of this decision, ending Braun's sadistic games versus killing even a virtual consciousness, rests on your shoulders. Once freed from the simulation, your father emerges from his pod, and you finally reunite. James is shocked to see you, amazed that you left the vault and tracked him across the wasteland. He explains everything. How he and your mother were part of Project Purity before you were born. How Catherine died during childbirth inside the Jefferson Memorial, and how he fled to Vault 101 to raise you in safety. Now, he's determined to complete their dream of bringing clean water to the wasteland. James asks you to join him in restarting Project Purity. Together, you return to Rivet City to gather Dr. Lee and the other scientists who originally worked on the project. Despite her reservations, Lee agrees to help, along with several other scientists. The group travels together to the Jefferson Memorial, fighting through or sneaking past the super mutants that have occupied it. Inside the memorial, your father and the science team set to work repairing equipment and preparing the purifier. The massive machinery fills the memorial's rotunda, a testament to pre-war ambition. As work progresses, you learn the technical details of how the purifier will work, drawing water from the tidal basin and removing all radiation and contaminants before pumping it back out. But there's a problem. The purifier needs enormous amounts of power to function, more than the memorial's generators can provide. The solution lies in a GESIC, a Garden of Eden creation kit, a miraculous piece of pre-war technology designed to rapidly terraform and restore environments. Your father believes a GESIC might be stored in Vault 87, one of the experimental vaults in the region. Before you can set out to find the GESIC, disaster strikes. The Enclave arrives. The Enclave and Project Purity. The Enclave is a remnant of the pre-war United States government, specifically a shadow government that survived the nuclear holocaust aboard an oil rig off the California coast. They represent the most technologically advanced faction in the Wasteland, equipped with advanced power armor, energy weapons, and vertical takeoff aircraft called vertibirds. They believe they are the rightful rulers of America and view Wastelanders as mutated subhumans unworthy of the resources they seek to control. Led by President John Henry Eden, broadcasting from somewhere called Raven Rock, and his field commander, Colonel Augustus Autumn, the Enclave has come to the capital Wasteland with their own agenda. They've learned about Project Purity and intend to seize control of it, using the purified water distribution as a means to control the entire region. Enclave soldiers, in their distinctive black and silver power armor, storm the Jefferson Memorial, just as your father succeeds in activating the purifier. Colonel Autumn, a cold and ruthless officer, confronts James in the purifier control room, demanding the access codes. Your father refuses, knowing that giving the Enclave control of the purifier would turn clean water into a tool of oppression. In a desperate act of sacrifice, James floods the purifier chamber with massive doses of radiation, killing Autumn's soldiers and, he believes, Colonel Autumn himself. The radiation is too intense for anyone without protection to survive. As James dies from radiation poisoning, he urges you to escape through the emergency tunnels with Dr. Lee and the other scientists. The escape through the tidal basin tunnels is a frantic flight from pursuing Enclave soldiers. Dr. Lee leads you through maintenance corridors and sewage passages, eventually emerging in the ruins of downtown D.C. The group makes its way to the Citadel, the Brotherhood of Steel's headquarters, seeking refuge and protection from the Enclave's forces. The Citadel is an impressive fortress built within the ruins of the Pentagon. The Brotherhood has fortified it extensively, creating a stronghold that can withstand assault. Inside, you meet Elder Owen Lyons, the leader of the Capital Wasteland Brotherhood contingent, and his daughter, Sentinel Sarah Lyons, whom you met at Galaxy News Radio. Elder Lyons is an idealist among the Brotherhood, having broken from the traditional Brotherhood doctrine of hoarding technology. Instead, he's committed to protecting the people of the Capital Wasteland from super mutants and other threats, even at the cost of weakening his own forces. This stance has caused a schism with some Brotherhood members, calling themselves the Outcasts, breaking away to follow the original Brotherhood mission. You also meet Paladin Owen, Scribe Rothschild, and other key Brotherhood personnel. Rothschild is particularly interested in Project Purity and immediately begins working with Dr. Lee to understand how to complete it. But there's still the problem of the Gieka, and now you have an even bigger problem. The Enclave is hunting you specifically. Elder Lyons agrees to help you reach Vault 87 to retrieve the Gieka. However, Vault 87 presents unique challenges. The front entrance is so heavily irradiated that approaching it means instant death. The only safe way in is through a place called Little Lamplight, a cavern settlement inhabited entirely by children. Little Lamplight exists because of a simple rule. When children reach their 16th birthday, they're exiled to Big Town, a settlement of Mungos, their term for adults. The caves of Little Lamplight connect to Vault 87, making it the only viable entrance. The problem is that the children don't trust adults and certainly don't want to help one access the vault. The mayor of Little Lamplight is a child named McCready, who's as tough and crude as any Wastelander despite his age. He initially refuses to help you, but you can convince him through various means, passing a speech check, helping with a problem involving one of their people trapped in the caves, or completing a task that proves your worth. The caves of Little Lamplight are beautiful in a strange way, filled with phosphorescent fungi and underground streams. But they're also dangerous, infested with giant insects and other creatures. The children have learned to navigate this environment, setting up defenses and living spaces in the safer areas. Their resilience is both admirable and heartbreaking. These children have never known anything but the wasteland. When you finally gain access to Vault 87, you discover its horrible secret. This vault was designed to test the Forced Evolutionary Virus, or FEV, on human subjects. The vault's overseer and scientists dipped unwilling residents into FEV vats, transforming them into super mutants. The experiments continued after the war, with the mutants capturing Wastelanders and bringing them to the vault for transformation. Vault 87 is a horror show of failed experiments and mutant laboratories. You fight through waves of super mutants, including more powerful variants like brutes and masters. The vault's logs reveal the descent into madness as scientists conducting the FEV experiments lost all ethical constraints, treating human subjects as mere research material. In the deepest part of the vault, you finally find the Giekik, secured in a special chamber. But the moment you retrieve it, Enclave soldiers teleport into the room using advanced technology. They overwhelm you with stun weapons, and everything goes black. You wake up in Raven Rock, the Enclave's hidden base deep within a mountain. You're a prisoner, stripped of your equipment and locked in a cell. This is the heart of Enclave operations in the Capital Wasteland, a massive underground complex filled with soldiers, scientists, and military hardware. A voice speaks to you through the intercom system. It's President John Henry Eden, and he wants to meet you personally. Eden explains that he's impressed by your journey and your determination. He wants to help you, or so he claims, and offers you a deal. He wants you to work with the Enclave to complete Project Purity, but with a special additive he'll provide. As you're escorted through Raven Rock, you make a shocking discovery. President Eden isn't human. He's a Zach series supercomputer, an artificial intelligence that became sentient and absorbed the personalities and knowledge of previous American presidents. Eden has been running the Enclave based on his programmed understanding of American values and his own interpretation of what's best for the country. Eden presents you with a vial containing a modified FEV strain. He explains that if this is introduced into Project Purity, the purified water will become a weapon that kills anyone with significant radiation-induced mutations, which means virtually everyone in the Wasteland except pure-strain humans like you and the Enclave. Eden believes this genocide is necessary to reclaim America for pure humanity. You also learn that Colonel Autumn survived the radiation at Jefferson Memorial and is now hunting you within Raven Rock. Autumn has his own plans for Project Purity that don't align with Eden's genocidal vision. He wants to use the purifier to bring the Wasteland under Enclave control through conditional water distribution, not mass murder. Eden releases you and returns your equipment, believing he's convinced you to work with him. He even gives you the FEV vial and encourages you to leave Raven Rock. But as you make your escape, Colonel Autumn realizes what's happening and orders the base locked down. The Enclave soldiers turn on each other, some following Eden's orders to let you go, others following Autumn's command to stop you. Your escape from Raven Rock is explosive. You can activate the base's self-destruct sequence before leaving, or simply fight your way out through conflicting Enclave forces. Either way, the Citadel is your destination, the only safe haven in a wasteland now fully controlled by the Enclave. Back at the Citadel, you share everything you've learned with Elder Lyons and Scribe Rothschild. The Brotherhood realizes they're facing an existential threat. The Enclave has superior numbers and technology, and they control much of the Wasteland. But with the GE-Seek in hand, there's a chance to complete Project Purity before the Enclave can seize it permanently. Liberty Prime becomes the centerpiece of the Brotherhood's plan. This massive pre-war robot was designed to fight Chinese communists, but was never completed before the bombs fell. The Brotherhood has been trying to restore it for years, and with the urgency of the Enclave threat, Rothschild and his team work around the clock to bring the mechanical giant online. Liberty Prime is a marvel of pre-war military engineering, a 50-foot-tall humanoid robot equipped with devastating weapons and programmed with anti-communist propaganda. When it finally activates, spouting Cold War rhetoric and declaring its intention to destroy communism, it represents the Brotherhood's best hope for breaking the Enclave's hold on the Jefferson Memorial. The final battle for Project Purity is epic in scale. Liberty Prime leads the assault, striding through the ruins toward the memorial while hurling nuclear bombs from its back-mounted launcher and obliterating everything in its path with its eye lasers. Brotherhood knights and paladins follow in the giant's wake, engaging Enclave soldiers in power armor combat. You fight alongside Sarah Lyons and her Pride Squad, pushing through wave after wave of Enclave resistance. Vertibirds strafe the battlefield, energy weapons light up the ruined landscape, and Liberty Prime's booming voice declares each enemy position a communist threat before annihilating it. The robot is virtually unstoppable, smashing through Enclave barriers and destroying their defensive positions. At the Jefferson Memorial, the Brotherhood breaks through the Enclave perimeter. Liberty Prime tears open the memorial's defenses, allowing you and the Brotherhood soldiers to storm inside. You fight through the memorial's corridors, cleared once again of super mutants, but now filled with Enclave troops making their last stand. In the Purifier control room, you confront Colonel Autumn one final time. he makes a final offer. Leave now, or die with the Brotherhood. You can fight him and his guards, convince him to surrender, or in rare circumstances, even side with him against the Brotherhood. But the most likely outcome is that Autumn dies here, his vision of Enclave-controlled water distribution ending with him. With the Enclave defeated, there's only one problem left. The purifier is ready to activate, but someone needs to enter the heavily radiated chamber to input the activation code. The radiation levels are lethal. Whoever goes in won't come out alive. This is the moment of ultimate choice. You can sacrifice yourself, entering the chamber as your father did, and dying to bring clean water to the Wasteland. You can convince Sarah Lyons to go in your place, allowing her to make the sacrifice. If you have the Broken Steel DLC, you might have other options, including sending in Fox, the super mutant companion who is immune to radiation, making the sacrifice unnecessary. The activation code is a reference to Revelation 21:6 from the Bible. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life, freely. Your father's favorite passage becomes the key to fulfilling his dream. If you choose to sacrifice yourself, your final moments are spent watching the purifier activate through the glass as radiation ravages your body. The great machines rumble to life, water begins to flow and purify, and your vision fades. You collapse, knowing that your father's dream, your mother's dream, has finally been realized. The Awakening and Broken Steel. If you have the Broken Steel downloadable content, death is not the end. You wake up 2 weeks later in the Citadel Infirmary, alive against all odds. The Brotherhood's medical technology, specifically their advanced RadAway treatments and Sarah Lyons' quick action in pulling you from the chamber, saved your life. You're weak, scarred by the experience, but alive. The Wasteland has changed in those 2 weeks. Project Purity is operational, and the Brotherhood is distributing clean water across the capital Wasteland through caravans protected by Brotherhood soldiers. It's the beginning of true recovery for the region, the first real hope in 200 years. People who have lived their entire lives drinking irradiated water now have access to pure, clean water. But the Enclave hasn't been completely defeated. Scattered forces remain, and they're determined to strike back. Elder Lyons briefs you on the situation. The Enclave has regrouped and is planning something big. The Brotherhood needs you back in action. Your first mission takes you to the Germantown Police Headquarters, where the Brotherhood has established a forward base. Enclave forces are pressing hard against this position, and the Brotherhood needs to hold it to maintain their water distribution routes. The battle is intense, with vertibirds deploying Enclave soldiers in waves, while Brotherhood forces try to hold their ground. During this mission, you witness the Enclave's new weapon, a satellite-based orbital strike platform called the Bradley Hercules satellite. The Enclave uses it to obliterate Liberty Prime in a devastating energy beam strike from space. The giant robot that seemed invincible is reduced to slag and scattered components in seconds. The loss is crushing for the Brotherhood. Liberty Prime represented their technological achievement and their military superiority. But every weapon can be turned against its wielder. Scribe Rothschild and the Brotherhood's technical team discover that they can hack into the Enclave's satellite uplink at the old Rockland car tunnel relay station. If successful, the Brotherhood could seize control of the Bradley Hercules satellite and turn it against the Enclave's own stronghold, Adams Air Force Base, their main operations center in the capital Wasteland. The mission to secure the satellite uplink is dangerous. The relay station is deep in Enclave-controlled territory, heavily defended, and crawling with soldiers. You infiltrate the facility with a Brotherhood strike team, fighting through automated defenses and Enclave guards, to reach the central control room. Rothschild's technical expertise allows him to hack the satellite controls, but the process takes time. Time you must buy with your life on the line. Enclave reinforcements pour into the facility, aware that something critical is happening. You hold them off in a desperate firefight while Rothschild works his technical magic. Finally, the hack succeeds. Rothschild redirects the satellite's targeting systems toward Adams Air Force Base. But there's more. The Brotherhood discovers that the Enclave has been developing a mobile base crawler, a massive vehicle built from salvaged aircraft carrier parts that serves as a mobile command center. This crawler is at Adams Air Force Base, and destroying it would cripple the Enclave's operations permanently. The assault on Adams Air Force Base is the final operation against the Enclave. You're inserted near the base along with a strike team, including Sentinel Lions. The base is massive, filled with vertibirds, armored vehicles, and hundreds of Enclave soldiers. The mobile base crawler looms in the distance, a behemoth of pre-war technology repurposed for the Enclave's needs. Your mission has multiple objectives: fight your way into the crawler, plant explosives to destroy it, and escape before the Brotherhood uses the Bradley Hercules satellite to obliterate the entire base. The crawler's interior is a maze of corridors, laboratories, and command centers. You encounter some of the Enclave's most elite soldiers and their top officers, who refuse to surrender even in the face of certain defeat. Deep inside the crawler, you can find the Enclave's research data and learn the full extent of their plans. They weren't just trying to control Project Purity, they had schemes to dominate the entire eastern seaboard, to crush all opposition, and to rebuild America according to their twisted vision of genetic purity and authoritarian control. After planting the explosives throughout the crawler's critical systems, you have limited time to escape. The Brotherhood has cleared an extraction point, but reaching it means fighting through the Enclave forces between you and safety. The base is on high alert, with every soldier aware that their stronghold is about to fall. You reach the extraction point as the orbital strike begins. The sky lights up with energy beams as the Bradley Hercules satellite tears apart the Air Force Base. Explosions ripple across the facility as fuel dumps ignite, ammunition stores detonate, and the mobile base crawler erupts in a massive fireball. Vertibirds attempting to flee are swatted from the sky by secondary strikes. From the safety of a vertibird carrying you away from the devastation, you watch the Enclave's last major stronghold in the capital Wasteland burn. The organization that threatened to enslave or exterminate the entire region has been broken. Scattered remnants will remain, bitter soldiers and officers without direction, but they'll never again pose an organized threat. Back at the Citadel, Elder Lyons commends you for your service to the Brotherhood and to the people of the capital Wasteland. Project Purity continues to operate, bringing clean water to settlements across the region. The Enclave is defeated. Super mutant numbers are dwindling as the Brotherhood continues to hunt them down. For the first time in 2 centuries, the capital Wasteland has a real chance at recovery. Your journey from Vault 101 is complete. You've gone from a sheltered vault dweller who knew nothing of the outside world to the Wasteland's greatest hero. You found your father, completed his life's work, defeated the Enclave, and gave hope to countless people who had none. The capital Wasteland will remember your name for generations to come. As you stand on the Citadel's battlements, looking out over the ruins of Washington, D.C., you can see the changes already beginning. Brotherhood patrols walk safer routes. Caravan merchants report fewer raider attacks. Settlements are growing more confident, expanding their boundaries and trading more freely. The water caravans protected by Brotherhood soldiers have become a symbol of hope, proof that cooperation and sacrifice can achieve what seemed impossible. But the Wasteland is far from tamed. There are still dangers lurking in the ruins, still mysteries to uncover, still people who need help. Your story in the capital Wasteland may have reached its climax, but the Wasteland itself continues, changed by your actions, but still wild, still dangerous, still full of stories waiting to unfold. You think about your father often, about his dream and your mother's sacrifice, about the vault you left behind and the friends you made along the way. Every person you met, every choice you made, every bullet fired, and every word spoken led to this moment. The lone wanderer, they call you now. The hero who brought water to the Wasteland. But you know the truth. You're not a hero by nature. You were just someone looking for their father, trying to understand why he left, trying to survive in a world you never asked to enter. The heroism came from the choices you made along the way, from deciding to help rather than harm, to build rather than destroy, to give hope rather than take it away. The Wasteland has taught you many lessons: that survival requires strength, but also compassion, that the past cannot be reclaimed, but the future can still be shaped, that even in the darkest places, human kindness persists. That sacrifice has meaning when it serves something greater than yourself. Your journey has taken you from the sterile corridors of Vault 101 to the irradiated ruins of the nation's former capital. You've walked through metro tunnels filled with feral ghouls, climbed the Washington Monument, explored vaults both mundane and horrifying, stood before the Lincoln Memorial, and pondered what freedom means in this broken world, fought super mutants in the streets and enclave soldiers in their bases, and ultimately fulfilled a dream that seemed impossible. The people you've met along the way have their own stories continuing without you. Moira Brown is probably still working on her survival guide, documenting everything with her irrepressible enthusiasm. 3 Dog broadcasts news across the Wasteland, spinning tales of the lone wanderer's adventures. The residents of Megaton, if you saved them, continue building their lives around that undetonated bomb. If you destroyed it, Tenpenny Tower stands as a monument to the worst of human nature, a place where the wealthy literally looked down on everyone else. Lucy West's family in Arafu faced their own crisis with a group of psychotic raiders who called themselves the Family, drinking blood and terrorizing the small settlement. You may have helped resolve that situation peacefully or violently. In Big Town, the scared adults constantly faced capture by super mutants who dragged people back to Vault 87 for transformation. Your intervention may have saved them, or you may have left them to their fate. There was the Republic of Dave, a ridiculous settlement where a delusional man declared himself president of a republic consisting of his family. There was Andale, a seemingly pleasant town hiding a dark secret of cannibalism and murder. There was Oasis, where Harold, a mutant from the first Fallout games, had transformed into a unique entity, a man whose body had merged with a tree, creating a small oasis in the Wasteland. The people there worshipped him, while Harold himself just wanted to die after decades of immobility. You might have encountered the replicated man, an android from the distant Commonwealth who escaped the Institute and sought refuge in the capital Wasteland with his memories erased. His story raised questions about consciousness, freedom, and what it means to be alive. You might have helped Zimmer, the scientist hunting him, or protected the android's new identity. The Regulators, a group of vigilante bounty hunters, might have taken notice of you if you proved yourself a force for good in the Wasteland. Conversely, Talon Company mercenaries hunted you if you became too heroic, hired by unknown benefactors who preferred the wasteland chaotic and lawless. Every action had consequences. Every choice rippled outward in ways you couldn't always predict. Paradise Falls, a settlement built entirely around the slave trade, represented one of the darkest elements of wasteland life. Slavers kidnapped wastelanders and sold them to the highest bidder. You could have freed the slaves, destroyed the slavers, or even worked with them for profit and reputation among the worst people in the wasteland. The choice reflected who you chose to become in this harsh world. The Temple of the Union, a settlement of runaway slaves hiding in the ruins, dreamed of reaching the Lincoln Memorial and restoring it as a symbol of freedom. If you helped them, they eventually reclaimed that monument, a small victory against the cruelty that pervades so much of wasteland life. The memorial's head of Lincoln, which had been stolen and defaced, could be restored or left as another victim of the wasteland's brutality. Canterbury Commons was home to the Antagonizer and the Mechanist, two wastelanders who took on comic book personas and waged war against each other with robots and giant ants. Their conflict was absurd, yet deadly to the innocent townspeople caught between them. Resolving their feud revealed that even in the wasteland, people cling to pre-war fantasies and identities, trying to impose meaning on a meaningless world. The Dunwich Building stood as one of the most unsettling locations in the entire wasteland. This pre-war office building had been the site of occult activity before the war, and something dark lingered there still. Venturing into its depths revealed a descent into psychological horror, with visions, ghosts, and an obelisk that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. Whether supernatural forces truly existed or radiation-induced hallucinations caused these experiences remained ambiguous, but the Dunwich Building proved that not all dangers in the wasteland are physical. Fort Constantine held a cache of pre-war military equipment, including T-51B power armor, the pinnacle of pre-war armor technology. Getting inside required finding keys scattered across the wasteland and dealing with a ghoul named Tara and her friends who lived in the vicinity. The power armor represented humanity's peak achievement in personal protection, though wearing it required proper training, something the Brotherhood of Steel could provide if you proved yourself worthy. The Deathclaws of the wasteland represented perhaps the most terrifying creatures spawned by the war. Created by pre-war military experiments to replace human soldiers, these creatures combined the deadliest attributes of multiple species into something that could tear a human apart in seconds. Encountering a Deathclaw, especially at night when they were most active, was a test of combat skill and nerve. The area around Old Olney was particularly notorious, virtually overrun by these apex predators. Yao Guai, mutated bears with incredible strength and aggression, roamed certain areas of the wasteland. Despite being irradiated and mutated, they retained a bear's natural ferocity while becoming even more dangerous. Their meat was surprisingly valuable to certain wasteland residents who had acquired a taste for it, though hunting them was never an easy task. Mirelurks, mutated crustaceans that inhabited the waterways around the tidal basin and Potomac River, were territorial and aggressive. Their hard shells made them difficult to kill, and they often traveled in groups. Mirelurk hunters and kings represented even more dangerous variants, capable of sonic attacks and possessing even greater resilience. The Brotherhood Outcasts, who split from Elder Lyons' chapter, maintained their own operations throughout the wasteland. They focused purely on technology acquisition, dismissing Lyons' humanitarian efforts as a distraction from the Brotherhood's true mission. You could trade with them through their automated collection system, exchanging pre-war technology for supplies, but they remained distant and distrustful of outsiders. The regulators maintained a headquarters in the form of an abandoned sewer hideout, where they coordinated their vigilante justice efforts. If you proved yourself a champion of good, they welcomed you and provided support. The contrast with Talon Company's approach showed how different groups adapted the same basic mercenary structure to opposite moral frameworks. Underworld, a settlement of non-feral ghouls living in the Museum of History, represented one of the most stable communities in the Wasteland, despite the prejudice its residents faced. Ghouls like Carol, Greta, and Karen lived there, trying to build lives while dealing with the hatred smoothskins directed at them simply for their appearance. The museum itself contained pre-war exhibits on American history, a poignant reminder of what was lost. Riley's Rangers, an elite mercenary group that mapped the D.C. ruins, could be found trapped in the Statesman Hotel surrounded by super mutants. Rescuing them earned their gratitude and access to their compound, where they continued their dangerous work of mapping and exploring the most hazardous locations in the Wasteland. Their dedication to creating accurate maps served everyone who needed to navigate the treacherous ruins. The Grady family tapes scattered throughout certain metro stations told a heartbreaking pre-war story of a father trying to keep his daughter entertained during the nuclear crisis while radiation slowly poisoned them. Finding all the tapes revealed the complete tragedy of this family's final days, a microscopic human story amid the apocalypse's overwhelming scale. The Keller family's transcontinental holotape message, meant to be delivered to someone who was probably long dead, represented the countless broken connections and interrupted lives the war created. Delivering such messages felt futile, yet necessary, a way of honoring the dead by completing their final wishes, even 2 centuries late. The Velvet Curtain, a crashed plane in the Wasteland carrying Chinese infiltrators and their intelligence documents, hinted at the espionage war that preceded the nuclear exchange. The skeletons in and around the plane, frozen in their final moments, told stories of desperate last stands and the fog of war that consumed everyone regardless of their allegiance. The Bethesda ruins held offices of the company that once created entertainment software, a meta-reference to the game's own creators. Exploring these ruins felt surreal, walking through a fictional representation of a real place transformed into post-apocalyptic horror. The offices contained the personal effects of employees who never made it home when the bombs fell. The Nuka-Cola plant represented corporate excess taken to an extreme. This massive facility produced the Wasteland's most popular soft drink before the war, and now it was filled with Nuka-lurks, robots gone haywire, and the secrets of Nuka-Cola's formula. The quantum variation, which glowed blue from radioactive isotopes, was particularly sought after by collectors. Sierra Petrovita, a Nuka-Cola obsessive in girder shade, represented the peculiar ways people found meaning in the Wasteland. Her dedication to collecting Nuka-Cola quantum bottles and her encyclopedic knowledge of the company's history showed how pre-war culture continued to influence survivors. Her neighbor Ronald Lauren's unrequited love for her added a tragicomic element to their isolated existence. The Mechanist's lair, accessible after dealing with the antagonizer situation, contained a surprisingly sophisticated robot production facility. The Mechanist, whose real name was Jackson, was simply a man who found his father's robot control technology and adopted a comic book persona to give his life meaning. His story illustrated the thin line between coping mechanism and delusion. Agatha, an elderly woman living alone with her Stradivarius violin, sent you on a quest to find her family's soil Stradivarius. Her story connected to pre-war musicians and the cultural heritage that the apocalypse tried to erase. Helping her retrieve the violin allowed her to play again, bringing genuine music back to a world filled with violence and suffering. Her radio station, if you helped her establish it, broadcast classical music across the wasteland, beauty persisting despite everything. The Arlington Library, controlled by the Brotherhood of Steel, became a center for preserving pre-war knowledge. The Brotherhood tasked you with recovering certain books and archives, while fighting raiders who had occupied parts of the building. In the library's depths, you could find the Arlington House family who survived as ghouls, guarding their refuge against intruders. The irony of fighting over books in a world where most people were illiterate wasn't lost on anyone. The Citadel's archives, accessible once you gained the Brotherhood's trust, contained a wealth of information about pre-war history, Brotherhood operations, and technical schematics. Scribe Rothschild and his team worked tirelessly to catalog and preserve this knowledge, believing that rebuilding civilization required understanding what was lost. The Enclave's iBots, small flying robots that broadcast President Eden's propaganda, became a constant presence after the Enclave's arrival. They spouted messages about American values and the Enclave's mission to restore the government. After the Enclave's defeat, these robots wandered aimlessly, still broadcasting their programmed messages to a world that had moved on. Tenpenny Tower, if left standing, developed its own stories. Alistair Tenpenny, the wealthy businessman who wanted Megaton destroyed for his view, lived atop his tower in pre-war luxury, while the Wasteland suffered below. Roy Phillips, a feral ghoul, led a campaign to gain entry to the tower, facing discrimination from its bigoted residents. How you resolved this conflict determined whether the tower became a haven for ghouls or remained a fortress of human prejudice. Or perhaps you orchestrated everyone's death, leaving the tower empty and silent. The Tenpenny Suite, if you earned it through destruction or payment, offered the most luxurious living quarters in the Wasteland, but luxury felt hollow when purchased with the lives of Megaton's residents. The suite's comfort couldn't erase the moral weight of mass murder, if that's the path you chose. Craterside Supply, Moira's shop in Megaton, thrived whether you helped with the Wasteland Survival Guide or not. Moira's project, documenting survival strategies for Wasteland inhabitants, seemed absurd at first. Who needed a guide when they already lived in these conditions? But her work gave hope and practical advice to people struggling to survive, validating her optimistic belief that things could improve. The Wasteland Survival Guide itself, once completed, became available throughout the Wasteland, providing its readers with genuine benefits. Moira's enthusiasm transformed into something tangible and helpful, proof that even seemingly foolish idealism could produce real value. Doc Church in Megaton provided medical services with old-world bedside manner, though his past remained mysterious. His dedication to healing, despite limited resources, embodied the best of human nature persisting in impossible circumstances. He asked no questions and turned no one away if they could pay. Billy Creel, a former bounty hunter turned Megaton resident, carried the weight of his violent past. He tried to live quietly, but his skills remained sharp, a reminder that in the Wasteland, no one truly left their history behind. Everyone carried scars, visible or otherwise. Stockholm, the gate guard you first met arriving in Megaton, maintained his post faithfully, serving as the town's first line of defense and initial contact with outsiders. His vigilance helped keep raiders and other threats at bay, allowing the town to function with some semblance of security. Deputy Weld, a Protectron robot programmed for law enforcement, assisted Sheriff Sims in maintaining order. The sight of a pre-war police robot still performing its duties 2 centuries later was both reassuring and surreal. When Sims fell in the line of duty, if that occurred, Weld continued patrolling, unable to truly comprehend the loss but faithful to its programming. Leo Stahl at the water processing plant complained constantly about his work, but he kept Megaton's water supply functioning. Ironic, given that Project Purity would eventually make his processed irradiated water obsolete. His gruff exterior hid genuine care for the town's welfare, even if he rarely showed it. Nathan and Manya Vargas, an elderly couple in Megaton, shared stories of the past and provided perspective on how the Wasteland had changed over decades. Manya's historical knowledge, passed down through oral tradition, connected current survivors to their ancestors' struggles. Their presence reminded everyone that survival was multi-generational. Jenny Stahl, Leo's daughter and Moriarty's employee, lived a difficult life serving drinks and more to saloon patrons. The Wasteland offered few opportunities for young women, and her situation reflected the harsh realities of survival where dignity was often sacrificed for security. Nova, another of Moriarty's employees, faced similar circumstances. The saloon's upper rooms served purposes beyond lodging, and Moriarty profited from desperate people's needs and loneliness. The transactional nature of Wasteland relationships was laid bare in places like his establishment. Gob, the ghoul bartender at Moriarty's saloon, endured constant abuse from patrons, especially the bigoted Moriarty himself and visiting customers. His patience and resilience in the face of relentless prejudice was remarkable. You could defend him or ignore his suffering, another choice reflecting your character. Jericho, the ex-raider drinking away his memories at Moriarty's, could be recruited as a companion if your karma was sufficiently evil. His past atrocities never truly left him, and traveling with him meant accepting the company of someone who had committed terrible acts and felt little remorse. The companions you could recruit each brought unique perspectives and abilities. Dogmeat, a loyal Australian cattle dog found in the scrapyard, became humanity's best friend in the apocalypse. His unconditional loyalty and combat effectiveness made him invaluable, and losing him in battle genuinely hurt. Fox, the super mutant you freed from Vault 87, defied everything you thought you knew about his kind. Intelligent, articulate, and moral, he proved that super mutants could retain their humanity despite physical transformation. His philosophy and observations about existence, mutation, and identity added depth to your journey. His immunity to radiation made him the logical choice to activate Project Purity, though some saw using him as a coward's way out of necessary sacrifice. Karen, the ghoul enforcer bound by a strange contract, served whoever held his employment agreement. His unwavering obedience came from deep conditioning, or perhaps something more metaphysical. Buying his contract from Azrakal in Underworld gained you a powerful, if unsettling ally, someone who would kill on command without question or hesitation. Sergeant RL-3, a military robot programmed for combat support, could be recruited if you had the Broken Steel expansion and neutral karma. His military protocols and combat efficiency made him a deadly companion, though his rigid programming sometimes led to complications in situations requiring nuance. Clover, a slave you could purchase from Paradise Falls, if you chose that dark path, represented the absolute worst of Wasteland morality. Buying a human being, even to free them, meant participating in and legitimizing the slave trade. That she would fight beside you afterward raised uncomfortable questions about trauma, survival, and what freedom truly meant. Star Paladin Cross, a Brotherhood knight who knew your father, could join you as a companion. Her loyalty to James transferred to you, and her insider knowledge of Brotherhood operations proved valuable. Her age and experience contrasted with her continued dedication to field duty, showing the Brotherhood's stretched resources. Butch Deloria, your childhood bully from Vault 101, could actually become a companion if you returned to the vault during the trouble on the Homefront quest and resolved it correctly. His transformation from punk kid to Wasteland barber to potential ally showed that people could change, though his personality remained abrasive. The trouble on the Homefront quest itself brought you back to Vault 101 after Amada desperately contacted you. The vault had descended into chaos after your father's and your departure. The Overseer's death, whether you caused it or not, created a power vacuum. Amada tried to institute reforms and open the vault to the outside world, but conservatives led by Officer Gomez resisted violently. Returning to the vault felt surreal. The place that shaped your entire childhood now seemed small, confined, and sheltered compared to the wasteland you'd conquered. The residents' problems, which consumed their entire existence, seemed trivial compared to super mutants, death claws, and nuclear purifiers. Yet these people's concerns were real to them, their suffering genuine within their limited context. You could resolve the vault's crisis in multiple ways, help Amada gain full control and open the vault to trade with the outside world, support the conservatives and keep it sealed, sabotage the vault's systems to force everyone out, or even massacre everyone in a dark expression of resentment for your exile. The choice reflected your journey's impact on your psyche. Had the wasteland made you wiser or simply harder? The pit expansion, if you experienced it, took you far from the capital wasteland to post-apocalyptic Pittsburgh, now called simply the Pit. This industrial nightmare was ruled by raiders who enslaved workers to smelt steel in the mills. The constant pollution and radiation created a disease called trog degeneration, transforming people into violent, mindless trogs. Asher, the pit's leader, claimed he was working toward a cure for trog degeneration and rebuilding civilization through industry. His methods were brutal: slavery, oppression, summary execution, but he argued they served a greater good. Werner, a former pit raider, recruited you to infiltrate the settlement and kidnap Asher's infant daughter, whose immunity to radiation might hold the cure's secret. The moral ambiguity of the pit exceeded anything in the capital wasteland. Side with Werner and free the slaves, but doom them to trog degeneration without Asher's research. Support Asher and maintain slavery, but preserve the chance of a long-term cure. Kidnap a baby from her parents or leave her in the hands of a raider lord. Every choice was terrible, every outcome compromised. The pit taught you that sometimes there are no good answers. Operation Anchorage, another expansion, placed you in a military simulation of the Anchorage Reclamation, a pivotal battle where American forces retook Alaska from Chinese occupation shortly before the Great War. The Brotherhood outcasts found this simulation and needed someone with an intact Pip-Boy to access it. Their prize, a vault containing pre-war military technology, including winterized power armor and advanced weapons. The simulation itself was a propaganda piece, showing American forces as noble heroes and Chinese soldiers as faceless enemies. But glitches in corrupted data revealed darker truths: war crimes, friendly fire incidents, and the moral compromises real soldiers made that the simulation tried to erase. Completing it granted access to the technology cache and showed how pre-war America mythologized its military, while its soldiers faced the same ethical compromises as any army. Point Lookout took you to a fog-shrouded coastal region south of the capital wasteland, accessible by riverboat from the Duchess Gambit docked near the Jefferson Memorial. This swampy, isolated area developed its own unique horrors. Inbred tribals with surprising resilience, aggressive plant creatures called punga plants, and a darkness that seemed to seep into your mind itself. Desmond Lockhart and Professor Calvert, two pre-war scientists turned ghouls, waged a shadow war against each other across Point Lookout. Both were brilliant, both were ruthless, and both tried to manipulate you for their vendetta. Their conflict revealed that the Wasteland's struggles weren't new. Human beings pursued power, revenge, and dominance before the war, just as they did after. The tribal population of Point Lookout, particularly Tobar the ferryman and the inhabitants of the Arkandove Cathedral, showed how isolated communities developed unique cultures post-war. Their dialects, beliefs, and social structures diverged sharply from capital Wasteland norms, proving that humanity's survivors were fragmenting into distinct groups rather than maintaining a unified culture. Mothership Zeta, perhaps the strangest expansion, involved your abduction by aliens conducting experiments on Earth life. The mothership orbiting Earth contained humans from different time periods: a Civil War soldier, a little girl from the suburbs, a samurai, and others kidnapped throughout history. Together, you staged a revolt against your alien captors, fought through the ship's corridors, and eventually took control. The aliens themselves were never explained or characterized as anything more than hostile experimenters. Were they responsible for the Great War, or did they simply observe and occasionally abduct specimens? The expansion raised questions but provided few answers, leaving their role in Earth's destruction ambiguous. Taking control of the death ray and potentially using it on other alien vessels provided cathartic violence, but little clarity. Each expansion added layers to your understanding of the Wasteland and the wider world. The pit showed industrial slavery and impossible moral choices. Operation Anchorage revealed pre-war propaganda and military technology. Point Lookout explored isolated regional variation and old grudges persisting through centuries. Mothership Zeta added science fiction absurdity and the possibility that humanity wasn't alone, even before the bombs fell. Back in the capital Wasteland, life continued its slow improvement. The Brotherhood of Steel solidified their position as the region's dominant military force and primary hope for stability. Elder Lyons's humanitarian approach, once controversial, proved correct. Protecting people created loyalty and cooperation more effectively than simply hoarding technology. The distribution of clean water from Project Purity transformed daily life for thousands. Children could drink without ingesting radiation. Farmers could irrigate crops with pure water. The simple act of drinking stopped being a slow poison. This change, more than any military victory, represented genuine hope for the future. Super mutant numbers declined as the Brotherhood hunted them systematically. Without Vault 87's FEV chambers producing new mutants, their population couldn't sustain itself. Uncle Leo, one of the few peaceful super mutants wandering the Wasteland, represented what they might have been if not for their violent conditioning and the trauma of unwilling transformation. The Talon Company continued operations, but reduced in effectiveness as your reputation and the Brotherhood's strength made their contracts less lucrative. Mercenaries go where the money is, and with improving stability, fewer clients wanted chaos. Paradise Falls faced various possible fates depending on your actions. Destroyed by your hand, it became another ruin. Left intact, the slave trade continued its cruel work. The Wasteland's moral complexity meant that total victory against evil remained impossible. There were always more raiders, more slavers, more people willing to profit from suffering. Tenpenny Tower, Megaton, Rivet City, Canterbury Commons, and other settlements each continued their stories. The characters you met lived out their lives, impacted by your choices, or untouched by your passing through. The wasteland was bigger than any individual, even the lone wanderer. Your legend grew, but life continued with or without you. 3 Dogs broadcasts spread your fame across the entire capital wasteland. He cast you as a hero, a villain, or something in between, depending on your actions. His commentary shaped how wastelanders perceived you, creating a mythologized version that diverged from the person you actually were. In a world starved for stories and hope, you became whatever people needed you to be. Your final rest, whenever it comes, will be in a wasteland forever changed by your actions. Project Purity flows. The Enclave is broken. The Brotherhood protects the weak. These achievements will outlast your life, becoming the foundation others build upon. The capital wasteland will never return to what it was before the war, but it can become something new, something better. As sleep takes you, you remember how far you've come. From a birthday party in Vault 101 to the destruction of Adams Air Force Base, your journey encompassed everything the wasteland could offer: horror and hope, cruelty and kindness, destruction and creation. You were shaped by the wasteland, but you also shaped it in return. The night is quiet now. The dangers that prowl the darkness seem distant. Your Pip-Boy's screen casts a soft green glow. The weight of your weapons and armor, once unfamiliar, now feels natural. You've become a creature of the wasteland, adapted to its harsh realities while retaining enough humanity to care about making it better. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. There are always more places to explore, more people needing help, more threats emerging. But tonight, you can rest, knowing that your father's dream lives on, that his sacrifice and yours changed the wasteland forever. The water is clean, the people have hope, and the lone wanderer, hero of the capital wasteland, can finally sleep peacefully, their story told, their legend secured, their place in this broken world's rebuilding assured. The wasteland sleeps, and so do you.